So good evening all. Thank you Deepak for this opportunity. Since I can realize that there is a time pressure, so I will try to keep my presentation as simple and crisp and to the permitted time as possible. The basic agenda is to give a brief about what is GS1 and the system of standards, various barcoding standards that can be used on cartons, which enhances the efficiency, adoption of GS1 standards by some regulatory bodies in India. So the objective of this presentation, what I can see by and large the audience is from the corrugated manufacturers, and the objective is to give an overview of about GS1 standards. What is GS1, what are barcodes, what are the different kinds of barcodes that can be used on various packaging levels. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, okay, so just to quickly go through on GS1, I hope you have a fair bit idea about what GS1 about. So I'm just skipping through those slides. So it's just briefly explaining on the system of standards or the basic framework on which these standards are being built. So basically what we call it as identify, capture and share. So when we see identify, how you identify the products, the locations, the logistics units, the transport units or the cartons or cases. So there are definite or specific standards for identification. And when we say this identification, these are identifications are nothing but certain numbers which is uniquely identify those entities globally. And how do we derive these numbers? There is a specific method by which these numbers are derived, based on which it gives the uniqueness to that identity. And once we identify, then how do we capture it? What are the technologies used for capturing? Definitely it is the barcodes and the RFID technologies which is used for capturing whatever information which is being identified. And then how do we share it, and what are the various, how do we share the information? So this is the basic framework in a glimpse based on which the GS1 standards are built on. So how do we use these identification keys across various levels? Like how do we identify the location? We call the abbreviation, if you expand it, global location number. The global trade identification number, GTINs, the barcode which you can see on every consumer item which you buy. Or similarly, SSCC, the serial shipping container code, which is a unique identity which is given to the carton or the logistics unit. So these are various identification standards which is generated, and these standards, when it gets combined with the technology, it acts as a key to extract information associated with those specific product or location or cartons or assets, whatever it is. So why do we need a unique, identification standards? If we have a proprietary standards, when it gets into the open supply chain, there you can see that there will be complete ambiguity. But if there is a globally unique identification standards, then when it gets into the open supply chain, the communication becomes more effective. There will be more of visibility. Just to give a brief of what are the barcode standards from the source to the consumption, the use of barcodes. So you can see, if you refer to this, you can see that from the product level, it is the barcode standards which is used, which is IAN, or the identification standards which we call as global trade identification number. You can see on every SKUs or consumer items there is a 13-digit number which is being used. Similarly, there are specific identification standards for the cartons and for the pallets. And that when that is being used, when it gets into the open supply chain, it becomes more easier for all the trading parties involved in the entire supply chain to exchange the information associated with those specific products. Some of the retail chain challenges: one is delivery discrepancies, checking and sorting orders, locating stocks and goods in warehouses, FIFO management. Of course, there was a reference in our previous session, reverse logistics, loss of prevention. So these are certain challenges. With the help of GS1 standards, you should be able to overcome these challenges by using these GS1 standards. One of the basic challenge, if you see in the retail sector, is what, when they at the receiving point, whatever goods they are receiving, what the practice currently which is going, they open the carton and they scan every individual SKUs, and then the inventory is being updated. Because there is no mechanism which is followed that which uniquely identifies the carton, and there is a mechanism by which you can automate the inventory updation process. So by the way, this gets into loss of stocks, or maybe damaging of stocks, maybe incorrect updation of inventories. What benefits you will get when you have a specific identifications on the cartons? One, it increases the efficiency. It enables automate inventory updations, facilitates linkage between the physical supplies and the related informations associated with it, and also it defines an accurate identification of damaged consignments and do the reverse logistics. Similarly, when there is a specific identity to the consumer units and to the secondary level packets in which the consumer units are being packed, so then it increases the visibility across the supply chain. Whenever there is any issue with the product quality, if any recall needs to be done, then it also enhances, or it also facilitates identifying or do the track and trace from where the product has gone or from where it has come, and that way it enables the product recall procedures. When it comes to barcoding on cartons, so basically it is decided based on the type of container, whether it's a fixed or homogeneous container, or whether it's kind of a variable or heterogeneous container. So depending upon, there is the standards which is used on the cartons vary. Whether you need to use an ITF 14 or whether we need to use an GS 128 barcode symbology, these are various barcode standards which is being used on the packaging levels. So depending upon the type of the carton, it varies. For instance, this is the packaging hierarchy. One is primary, the standard which is used is JITIN, and it is encoded on EN13 barcode. Now the secondary, which consisting of all these primary products, then it can be used, the standards which can be used is ITF 14 or GS 128 and SSCC. And at the tertiary level, you can again use a specific identification of that pallet by having a serial shipping container code. So how does this fixed or homogeneous container, just an illustration of, so each individual SKUs have got a unique identity, and when it moves into a packet, a secondary level packet, that packet also will be given a specific identity. So that way there is a parent-child relationship will be established in your backend application, which helps you to do the track and trace. Similarly, variable or heterogeneous containers, what kind of standards which is being used on it. So this is one slide which could be of more relevant to the audience, which is the symbologies of barcoding on cartons. One of the symbology which is used is ITF 14. I know most of those you must have been printing these barcode symbology on your cartons. So this is one which is by and large used on corrugated cartons, primarily for the identification of the content of the carton, as well as it also enables automated the quantity of the carton. You can specify with this symbology. Also, it enables the automate inventory updation as well. The other standard which you can use on carton is GS 128. For instance, looking at the carton, if you want to encode more information like batch number, expiry date, so if you want more information needs to be encoded and needs to be automated, capturing needs to be done. So that is where GS 128 is a symbology which could be of great use. And a small illustration of how these symbologies can be printed on these cartons. GS 128 by and large it is printed using labels, whereas the ITF 14 comes in a pre-printed format. Because while I was discussing with a couple of the manufacturers, I realized that they print this ITF 14 but they don't even realize the use of it. And some of them say that we printed it, then we realize that it is not scanning it then. So all these barcodes which is printed, it has a specific standards and specification which needs to be followed, which makes it scannable when it gets into the supply chain environment. The standards, when you see the standard which is encoded in the ITF 14 symbology, for instance, it has a unique product identity as well as an indicator digit. So combine these together, this number So if the backend system is capable of identifying it, it enables the content of the pack as well as what is inside the pack. So why this standard is required at the pack? Because when it gets stacked in your warehouse, if you need to have a mechanism at later on, if you need to identify what is there in the warehouse, at where it is located, so that is the place where these identification or these standards comes into of great help. Similarly, when you want the serial shipping container code, which is a different identification standard which is being used for logistics unit. So this is again with the use of various application identifiers, which is more of a technology term. These can encode more informations like the batch number, the manufacturing date, the expiry date. So for instance, if by looking at the carton and looking at the barcode, if you want to know that what is my content of the carton and what is the manufacturing date or the expiry date, which is of the products within the carton. So this is where these standards comes into play. So these are the standards which if you incorporate with the WMS or WMS system, which enables the FIFO management. If you refer back, that is again one of the challenges which is going on in the current market scenario. It's basically a symbology structure, more of how that number is being derived and what each component of that number, what is relevant for. Some of the application areas of GTIN 14 or ITF 14 used on standard trade items or to identify the cartons, their packs, intended for directly printing on corrugated cartons. Some of the benefits, as I mentioned, fast and accurate inventory tracking, easy identification of the content of the cartons. At any given point of the time, you know that what is there in this carton. Plus, it also, when you do automated data updation, it enables less, there will be less errors due to automated inventory updation. Some of the areas where if you have a unique identity for the secondary level packages, how it is going to be held. For instance, at the state of origination, if the supplier is giving a unique identity to the carton, that same number can be used across all the stakeholders in the supply chain as an identification mechanism. So the communication between the supplier or the distributor or the buyer, it becomes more easier that what they are referring to what. And if there is any damage has been happened, you can pinpoint to that particular carton because it has got a unique identity or a unique numbering onto that. And moreover, this can be scanned across all the scanning environments. In a more advanced terminology, so that is where we could see that there is a lot of mismatches with the goods which is actually received and actually which is being ordered. So that is where these standards, when it gets incorporate, when in conjunction with this business messaging standards, how it is going to be play, because we must be knowing that the company is using advanced shipment notice. So whenever they deliver the goods, this advanced shipment notice will be sent to the buyer. So the buyer knows that what goods he is going to receive and what are the contents which is there in these goods. So at the time of the receipt, so when he scans the identification number on the cartons, it clearly maps it what has been delivered, and if there is any discrepancy, it pops up. So that's where you can avoid any kind of manual way of checking and manual way of inverting the stock. So it in a very when it gets incorporated with this EDI platforms, so that is where it becomes more of beneficial. Okay, so coming to this, some of those regulatory mandates or some of the regulatory bodies where the GS1 standards have been used. One is Canteen Store Department, then the Delhi State Excise used this GS1 standards for this track and trace. Similarly for APIDA, which is using GS1 standards for implementing traceability. DGFT is again using GS1 standards for the purpose of track and trace, where at each level of packaging is using GS1 identification standards for the purpose of track and trace. Just some of those packets, if you see some of the illustration at secondary pack level, how these barcodes are, what kind of information is being encoded. At the tertiary level pack, what are the barcode labels, what kind of informations, and just because image talks more than words, so it gives an idea how these labels have been printed and pasted onto those carton. So how this becomes a track and traceable system, because in the back office application, there is a definite linkage between these numbers which is printed on the tertiary packet and the numbers which is printed on the secondary packets. So that's where there is a parent-child linking, and any time, a point in the time, if you want to do a trace one level up or one level down, so that is where this linking will help. In the Delhi excise, at the case, what kind of codifications we use? These are barcode labels which is being pasted on the cartons. At the mono carton, the various barcode levels, which is the serialization, unique serial number to each the bottles which is being produced by the manufacturer, so that it enables to track the bottle right from the source to the consumption stage. So with that, I think I did justice to the time which is permitted to me.